This boy is asking the title of today's lesson. ¿Qué haces durante el recreo? What do you do at break time? Durante el recreo, comer fruta. During break time, to eat fruit. Wait a moment. Guys, is this how we speak? Is this right? The answer is no, it's not. We don't say during break time to eat fruit. That's not what she means. Something like this would be more accurate. Durante el recreo, como fruta. During break time, I eat fruit. So, what's the problem in the sentence number 2 with to eat and comer? Right, the problem here is that comer, to eat, hablar, to speak, o escribir, to write, are what we call infinitive verbs. And in infinitive verbs, no one is doing the action. In English, you know infinitive verbs because you always have the to at the beginning. So, what happens when someone is doing the action? When someone is doing the action, we need to conjugate the verb, like in hablo, I speak. Let's remember a little bit about conjugation. In Spanish, there are 3 categories of verbs. We know the categories from the last 2 letters of the infinitive. And these are the categories. You're very familiar with the AR verbs, like hablar, to speak, or bailar, to dance. I'm going to ask you, do you remember the I form for hablar? How would that be? Pam, pam, pam. Hablo, I speak. So now, the other 2 categories are the ER verbs, like comer, to eat, or leer, to read, and the IR verbs, like escribir, to write. There are no more categories, I promise. Now, we say the infinitive verbs, like hablar, comer, or escribir, are verbs where no one is doing the action. So what happens when we want someone doing the action? We need to conjugate the verbs. How do we conjugate verbs? The first step was taking off the ending of the infinitive. So in hablar, we remove the R, they stay together, bye bye R, and I am left with the stem, hable. Now that means nothing, so we need to add the right ending depending on the person. So if the person is I would add the O at the end, and I am left with hablo, I speak. If the person is you, singular, I would add AS, hablas, you speak. Well, muy bien. So here you have the 3 categories of infinitives in Spanish and all the endings for every form. Let's start with the AR verbs that you know. So for example, with the verb hablar, I will remove the AR. I'm left with the stem hable. And if I want to conjugate for the I form, I just need to add the O, like hablo. The you form, hablas. He or she form, habla. The we form, hablamos. The you plural, habláis. And the they form, hablan. So as you see, we just need to add those endings. For the ER verbs, exactly the same. Today we have learned to comer, to eat, leer, to read, and also to drink, beber. But let's have a look at those 2. If I want to conjugate leer in the I form, I remove the ER, which is the ending, and I'm left with le. And for the I form would be leo. For the you form, lees. For the he or she form, be careful, you don't read that as li, you read it as lee, a long E. Now, if I want to conjugate comer, the same, I remove the ending, I'm left with com, and then I add the, for example, the we ending. So, comemos, the you plural, coméis, and the they form, comen. For the IR verbs, the same. Today we have seen escribir, to write. So, to conjugate it, I remove the IR, and then I'm left with the stem script. Now, for the I form, escribo, the you form, escribes, the he or she form, escribe, the we form, escribimos, the you plural form, escribís, and the they form, escriben. Now, something we can't do is conjugate the verbs with one ending with other endings from another conjugation. For example, if I want to conjugate leer in the we form, I only can use this column because it's a ER verb. So I could not say leímos as the we form. This would be completely wrong. So summarizing, when you want to conjugate a verb, an infinitive verb, make sure you look at the end carefully and you choose the right category in order to select the right ending for the form you want to conjugate. Now, these endings are very important. You're going to see this in year 8, in year 9, in year 10, etc. And I'm afraid you have to learn them by heart. But the good thing is that the I form in all of them is the same. So it's just one I form. You just need to add an O. And the other good thing is that now you know how to conjugate all the regular verbs in Spanish in present tense. So write this table down in your book and complete the activities below.